Okay, so hey, it's Risa G, and I'm coming in from my cluttered kitchen for another Tip Tuesday. And this week I'm discussing how to convert a normal, regular stovetop or slow cooker recipe to Instant Pot. Or whatever you got. You know, you got the crock pot express, you got one from Cuisinart or GoWise or any of the electric pressure cookers. So to any electric pressure cooker that you've got, okay? I've been asked a lot of questions lately on other groups, and I thought I would answer them all right here, okay? The most important thing, I think, when converting your regular recipes to Instant Pot is to really think about what kind of recipe it is, okay? If it's anything with a lean cut of meat, anything with an expensive cut of meat, anything that normally doesn't really take that long and cooks better in a cast iron skillet or on the grill, anything, no, don't even try it, all right? No steak, no filet mignon, no things like that, no little veal scallops or things that take between like 3 and 5 minutes in a cast iron skillet and get nice and crusty. You don't want to do, all right? You don't want to blow an expensive filet mignon and then overcook it in the Instant Pot, okay? You want things that are like you normally would cook on the back of your stove or in your oven for hours on end, or in the slow cooker for hours on end. You want those kind of things to cook really fast and taste like it's been simmering all day. That's the whole point, okay? So, the first thing is that you want to pick a recipe that's very well suited to the Instant Pot, okay? Something that already has a lot of liquid in it. Something that has a big cut of meat. Something that you normally would cook a long time. Beef bourguignon, chicken cacciatore, things that would cook for a long time. My mother used to make a fabulous chicken fricassee. It used to take her all day on the back of the stove. All right, but on Sunday night when she served it, it was fabulous because it had that long simmering flavor, all right? You want things that are going to taste like that when you're finished, okay? So also things that have grains in them, beans in them, things that, you want to cook beans, but you don't want to soak them overnight. You don't want to cook them for 17 hours on the stovetop. It takes like, I don't know, a few minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour, something like that in the Instant Pot. From dry, you can't beat that, okay? So the first thing is pick a recipe that's well suited, okay? Slow cooker recipes, soups, meats, stews, beans and grains, all those kinds of things that use a good amount of liquid, okay? All right, and it's perfect for root vegetables and long cooking stews and big cuts of meat, okay? Things that would normally take you a long time. During the week, you don't want to futz around. You don't have a lot of time to cook. This is a way of maximizing flavor and cooking things very quickly and getting it on the table in less than an hour for your family, or less than half an hour even for some things, okay? So those are the kind of recipes you want to adapt, okay? Do not take your, your favorite hamburger recipe, things like that. Things that take a very short amount of time on the grill, in the cast iron skillet, don't do it, all right? Don't waste an expensive cut of meat and overcook it. Same thing with any kind of like scallops, things like that, okay? Don't do it, all right? It's best for dishes that have like fatty cuts of meat. And tough cuts, flank steak, chuck roast, things like that. You can cook a chuck roast if you chop it up into little bits All right, actually, you don't even have to. You don't even have to cut it up. It takes like an hour and a half instead of 4 hours for a beef stew made with a chuck roast. So you can make that Mississippi pot roast that normally takes 8 hours in your slow cooker, and you can cook it for 90 minutes. Same thing with corned beef. Things, a fatty cut of meat. And it tastes like it's been simmering all day, and it hasn't, okay? It's great for soups, but remember, when you're converting a soup recipes normally have large amounts of liquid, large amounts of broth. You don't have to use that kind of amount of broth. You can cut that amount of broth by 2/3, okay? And it will still make the extra liquid. It'll make it up because meats and vegetables all leach liquid. So use like 1 cup of liquid. That's my basis with converting recipes. 1 cup of liquid, okay, to start, okay? And I mean, it also takes a lot of practice to convert your family recipes to Instant Pot recipes. So if I were you, especially with being a newbie, I would mainly use Instant Pot recipes, reliable Instant Pot recipes, okay? Not recipes from quickie, cheap, zero-priced Kindle books. I would go with a reliable cookbook author, Meredith Lawrence, Laurel Randolph, Lorna Sass, all people who have written cookbooks for a pressure cooker or an electric pressure cooker, okay? Because in those books, you'll have reliable charts of where to start, okay? It'll tell you 2 to 3 minutes from if it's just cut up, or 5 minutes from frozen, or whatever. They have reliable charts to really help you out when you're trying to convert the recipe. But also, they have recipes that they have tested over and over again to make sure that they work properly in an electric pressure cooker or a pressure cooker, okay? So use reliable recipes when learning, okay? And then from there, once you get comfortable, once you're brave enough to tackle a recipe that your family loves, a favorite casserole, a favorite long-cooked dish, your favorite pulled pork, whatever it is, chili that cooks for 3 hours on the back of the stove, things like that. First, cook for a couple of months from reliable recipes and get a little bit more, get a little bit more positive in the way you feel about cooking in it, all right? Because the first few weeks, you're going to make dishes that really don't taste very good, and you'll go, what is so great about this machine? So now, how to adjust cook time. The general rule is to cut cook time by 2/3. If a recipe usually takes you 3 hours in the oven, then it will probably take you an hour or less in the Instant Pot. For pasta, let's say, a recipe calls for 12 minutes for your favorite rigatoni, right? Most recipes I've found in books and online say to cook pasta for half the time on the box. I find that overcooks the pasta, okay? You don't want slimy, soft pasta. You want either al dente or just slightly, just gives a little give to your teeth, right? So for me, my general rule with pasta is to cook it for half the time minus 2 minutes so that you get al dente pasta. But I go with a natural release, or at least a 5-minute natural release. A lot of recipes, a lot of the more famous YouTubers and bloggers say just to go with half the time and then do a quick release. I find if you do a quick release, first of all, starch goes flying out of that vent and it gets all over the place. Do you want that? No. Secondly, yes, you're afraid of overcooking the pasta, and that's why they do that. But I find a 5-minute natural release and then do a staggered quick release by releasing the vent and then closing it, releasing it and closing it, doing it 3 or 4 times to release some of the starch, then doing a quick release, all right, if you're nervous about overcooking. But I do a 2-minute, I do 2 minutes less for al dente, 1 minute less for a little soft pasta, but not overly soft. But that's my general rule, okay? And don't try to do like super skinny pasta, like angel hair, because it usually takes like 3 or 4 minutes in the pot, 3 minutes in the pot. That would be a minute and a half. You can't do a minute and a half. You'd have to do like 0 minutes, and it wouldn't work. So don't try tiny, tiny, thin pasta. Don't try pastina, little itsy bitsy pastas, okay, unless it's a soup. And if you're doing a soup, then cook that pasta separately or add it in at the end and let it cook for the 2 minutes and it's done, okay? Don't try to do it in the Instant Pot. That's ridiculous, okay? Okay, now if ingredients have 2 different cook times, let's say, all right, you want to do chicken and rice, but you want to do it all at the same time, all right? I would saute the chicken, all right, brown it as best you can, remove it, deglaze the pot, all right? Deglaze the pot, scrape, all right? Add clear liquid, 1 cup of clear liquid. Scrape the bottom of the pot. Make sure it's perfectly clean, okay? Because even if there's 1 little dot, it won't pressure cook, okay? When you finally go to pressure cook. It won't do it. It'll tell you, burn. You don't want that, okay? So deglaze really well. And then add in your rice, add in your seasonings, add in a little bit of butter or fat, okay? Then put in the trivet. Then either put in a bowl or wrap your other food in foil if you want to slow down the cooking a little bit. You know, if you want to cook it for 5 minutes, but you know that that chicken normally takes 3 minutes or whatever it is, beef, little pieces of beef, whatever it is. If it usually takes 3 minutes, whatever, you want to slow down the timing, wrap it in foil, okay? Or what you can do is you can put like little bits of chicken, pieces of chicken cut up on the trivet, okay, seasoned up any way you like, and then lock it, set it for 4 minutes, and your rice will be fully cooked, and your chicken will be cooked all at the same time, okay? That's how you do 2 items that have different cook times, okay? Then if you're dealing with like big cuts of meat that normally take 3 or 4 hours and you only have, let's say, an hour, right? Cut up the meat into smaller pieces. So if you have a big roast, it's a 3-pound roast, cut it into 3 pieces or even 6 pieces. Put it on the trivet. Put some water underneath, a cup of water, or put it in the bottom of the pot. Cover it about 2/3 of the way with the water or even less, okay? It doesn't matter if the food is covered with the liquid because it will still pressure cook all the way through, okay? But really, big cuts of meat cut into smaller chunks. So instead of 4 hours on the back of the stove, it's 90 minutes on the meat setting or on the stew, if there's a stew setting, or on manual or pressure cook, depending on your model, okay? Okay, and I'm just looking at my notes. Lots of notes. All right, if you don't have, also a great way of figuring out cook time also is to look at reliable charts online. hippressurecooking.com for one. Any book by Laurel Randolph or Meredith Lawrence, The Blue Jean Chef from QVC. They have great charts in their book to tell you exactly how long it takes for food. But even so, sometimes it may not be right for you, all right? Especially with like things like beef, where you have a specific like of how rare you like your meat, things like that. One recipe once said to me to cook filet mignon for 18 minutes, to brown it on both sides and then pressure cook it for 18 minutes with a natural release. Well, by the time I opened up the pot, it was totally overcooked. Okay, it was so well done I couldn't even eat it. I barely could slice it. I like my beef really rare. And I learned my lesson. Don't cook filet mignon in there. It's a waste. All right. If you like your meat well cooked, you like it well done, then go for it. Okay. And follow the chart. For me, I really should have done it about 6 minutes, 7 minutes less than that 18 minutes. It probably would have been much better. Okay. So you really have to just practice. All right. You have to read it, do what it says. But then if you find it didn't work for you, it was too much or too little, then you cook it a little bit more or a little bit less, all right? It's a learning curve with this machine, okay? Also, another thing, you have to adjust the liquid, okay? Most recipes, especially soups, call for a lot of liquid. You have to judge it by about, I would use about 2/3 less liquid than any recipe calls for. I would think that the base liquid amount is a cup. 3/4 to a cup of liquid for most recipes, okay? Since there's very little liquid loss in pressure cooking, right, you have to reduce the liquid or else it's going to be, there's just going to be too much of it. And it'll take forever for the pressure to go up and the pressure to come down. And the whole point is that you want to do this quickly, okay? Also, if there are thickeners in your recipes, do not thicken in the beginning of the recipe like most say. So if they say to put a cornstarch, to put flour or cornstarch on your meat and brown it, don't do that. Add a slurry of cornstarch or flour and water at the end of cooking. Another tip with thickeners, okay? Do not flour your meat beforehand, okay? Like you do with regular stovetop recipes for beef stew, lamb stew, chicken stews, where you dredge it, you brown it, and then you remove it, you add your aromatics, you add all your juicy stuff, and then you add it back and you cook it, okay? Don't do that, okay? Brown the meat. Yeah, sure. Put it on saute, brown, wait until it says hot. A lot of people make the error of just adding the oil and starting to cook. Don't do that. Wait for the machine to say hot. Add your oil. Wait about 30 seconds or so. Let it heat up a little bit. Then when you add your meat, right, then you'll hear that tss. You want the sizzle. Just like you want it in a cast iron skillet, just like you want it on the grill, okay? Because that noise means you're getting flavor on your meat. And one of the problems people have with electric pressure cookers in general is they find that the meals are bland because they don't season enough. A, they don't season enough, and B, they don't wait for that sizzle, okay? So wait for the sizzle, add the meat. Brown it, remove it, do your vegetables, add it, and then deglaze. Add your clear liquid, deglaze, okay? Then add in your meat, add in all your other liquids, your tomatoes, whatever it is, your cream of mushroom soup, whatever. And then pressure cook it, following a chart, or even just go on to Facebook to any cooking group that you're in, all right, or any Instant Pot group or any pressure cook group, and ask, how do I make this? I want to make this with cream of mushroom soup. I always do it in a slow cooker and just add everything and wait 8 hours and it's cooked. I want to do that in my Instant Pot. How do I do that? okay? And most people will say not to use the cream of mushroom soup until the very end, all right? Because it's got thickeners in it, okay? Anything with thickeners you use, you add it at the end, okay? So once you've already finished pressure cooking, you've got your liquid in there, you cancel, you press saute, you add your thickeners, you add your slurry, you add your flour and water mixture, your cornstarch and water, your cream of mushroom soup or cream of chicken soup or whatever it is, okay? That's when you add the thickener. You want to add just some flour, add the flour into some water first, and then add it to the thing and stir. Stir it, cook it for 2 minutes, and it'll thicken, okay? Same thing with any kind of roux. You have a roux, add it at the end. Okay, most recipes for jambalaya, gumbo, anything from New Orleans, Louisiana, all have those roux in the beginning, all right, to thicken the stew. Use the roux at the end, okay? And, all right, another reason for not adding the flour in the beginning is because it leaves a coating on the bottom of the pot. And then when you go to pressurize, it won't pressurize. It'll tell you burn, even though it's not burnt. Okay? So, I want to prevent everybody from getting that burn. Okay? Just add the flour, the thickeners at the end. Okay? Same thing with dairy. Add it at the end. Otherwise, it'll curdle in cooking, which is not good. All right? And, of course, when it comes to a natural release or a quick release, when do you do that? Okay? A quick release is used for things that don't have a lot of starch, things that may not you want to be careful with overcooking, except for meats. Meats, for some reason, if you quick release them, they will get rubbery. So do a natural release with meats, with chicken. I do a short natural release with pastas, just so that the starch doesn't go all over the place when you open the vent, okay? And quick release I use for vegetarian dishes, a lot of vegetarian dishes, and a lot of things with vegetables in general, or things where you're not nervous about starch flying all over the place or liquid flying out of the pot, okay? But in general, I do a lot of natural releases. I do very few quick releases. I do a quick release on hard-boiled eggs. I do a quick release on things with beans, if they're coated in liquid, okay? But it really, the biggest tip I can give you with Instant Pot cooking in general is to practice. That is the main thing, okay? You get this machine, don't be nervous to open it up. It's not all that difficult. It really just takes some time and some practice to make the dishes that you really want and to make them really tasty, okay? Okay, so anyway, I hope all of this helped you out with converting your stovetop recipes to the Instant Pot or any other electric pressure cooker that you might have. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed my little video. Okay, so thanks for coming into Reese's Cluttered Kitchen. Please subscribe, hit the little bell, and I'll see you again. Bye.